What happens when the smallest passenger on a plane teaches a billionaire the biggest lesson of his life? High above the ocean, in a cabin filled with luxury and restless whispers, a crying baby brings first class to a standstill, until a brave 6-year-old boy named Toby decides to do something no one else thought to try. What follows is a heartwarming moment of comfort, unexpected connection, and a little bit of destiny at 30,000 feet. If you love wholesome stories filled with warmth, humor, and a touch of romance, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like this story, share it with someone who believes kindness still matters, and subscribe for more beautiful, feel-good tales that remind us that sometimes the smallest hearts make the biggest difference. The crying started somewhere over the ocean. At first, it was faint, thin and uncertain, like a question no one had answered. Most passengers barely noticed. A few adjusted their headphones. Someone increased the volume on a Nollywood movie. Then it grew, louder, sharper, desperate. It sliced clean through the steady hum of the aircraft engines and wrapped itself around every seat in first class. Under soft gold lighting and glossy walnut panels that gleamed like a luxury Lekki penthouse, a 1-year-old boy was in full protest against the skies. The cabin was a masterpiece of modern elegance. Cream leather seats stitched with precision, bronze fixtures glowing warmly, and decorative accents inspired by subtle Ankara geometry embedded into the partitions. Even the throw pillows looked expensive enough to have their own security detail. And yet, none of it mattered, because Sain Adewale was crying like the world had ended. His tiny fists were clenched, his cheeks were red. His tears came in heavy waves, soaking into his father's perfectly tailored navy jacket. Adewale Adeyemi, tech magnate, real estate giant, the man business channels called the Lion of Lagos, looked completely helpless. "Easy, champ," he murmured, rocking gently. "Daddy's got you." Zain disagreed loudly. The nanny had tried everything possible. One flight attendant approached with warm milk, served in a polished glass bottle. Rejected. Another offered a plush giraffe wearing a miniature silk scarf. Thrown. A third attempted soft singing in a voice that probably cost the airline extra during recruitment. Zain howled louder. A man across the aisle leaned toward his wife and whispered, "For this ticket price, shouldn't the baby come with a mute button?" His wife elbowed him. Adewale exhaled slowly, the way he did during tense board meetings. He had built companies from nothing, negotiated billion-naira deals, survived economic downturns, but this tiny human had defeated him. He pressed his forehead gently against his son's. "I don't understand," he whispered. "You were fine an hour ago." Zain responded with a scream powerful enough to shift stock markets. Back in economy, things were less polished, but warmer. The seats were tighter. The lighting was practical. Someone had packed suya that quietly blessed the entire row with its aroma. 6-year-old Toby sat upright, listening carefully. His sneakers blinked every time he swung his legs. Blue, red, green, like tiny runway lights. "Mom," he whispered, tugging gently on Amara's sleeve. The baby sounded scared. Amara glanced up from her book. She had kind eyes and the effortless elegance of someone who didn't need designer labels to look refined. Her Ankara print blouse was simple but beautifully tailored, the colors rich against her smooth brown skin. "I know, sweetheart," she said softly. "That's not 'I dropped my toy' crying." Amara raised an eyebrow. "Oh? That's 'everything is too big and I don't understand it' crying." She stared at him for a moment. "You're 6. I'm observant." The crying echoed again, thinner now, but more frantic. Toby placed his small hand on his chest. "He thinks he's alone." Amara's expression softened. "Well, his father is with him." "Yeah," Toby said gently, "but sometimes big people are too tall. Babies need eye level." She blinked slowly. "Where do you learn these things?" He shrugged. "Cartoons, and you." Toby unbuckled his seatbelt. "Can I help?" Amara looked toward the curtains separating economy from first class. The invisible line between ordinary and extraordinary. "Toby." "Mom," he said quietly, serious now. "He sounds really scared." She hesitated. Rules existed, social boundaries existed, but kindness didn't check seat numbers. Okay, she sighed, but stay respectful. And if they say no, you come right back. Toby grinned. Yes, ma'am. He slid into the aisle, sneakers flashing like he was walking toward destiny. A flight attendant stopped him halfway. And where are you headed, little sir? The baby, Toby replied calmly. She hesitated. Are you related to the family? No, but I think he needs a friend. Something in his voice, steady, certain, without performance, made her pause. She studied him, then nodded. All right, come with me. The curtain parted. First class felt like stepping into another world. The air even smelled different, like polished wood and expensive perfume. Passengers turned as Toby walked through, his tiny sneakers blinking against the plush carpet. The crying continued. Adewale looked up as the small figure approached. Confusion crossed his face. Before anyone could object, Toby stopped a few feet away. He didn't rush. He didn't speak. He just stood there, calm. The crying faltered slightly. Toby gave a small wave. Hi, he said gently. I'm Toby. Zane blinked through tears. Toby crouched slowly until they were eye level. Planes are loud, huh? He added sympathetically. They sound like giant vacuum cleaners. Adewale almost laughed despite himself. Zane hiccuped mid-cry. Toby began humming softly, a low, steady tune, not flashy, not dramatic, just consistent. The baby's cries slowed into uneven breaths. Toby reached into his small backpack and pulled out a toy car, slightly scratched, clearly loved. He rolled it gently along the armrest. Vroom, he whispered, we're racing the clouds. Zane stared. The sobbing softened. Passengers leaned forward subtly, pretending not to watch. Toby looked directly into the baby's eyes. It's okay, he murmured. You're safe. I'm here. Daddy's here. The plane is just noisy, that's all. Zane's tiny hand reached forward, grabbed Toby's finger, and held on. Silence spread through first class like a miracle. One last hiccup, one soft sigh. Then, sleep. Adewale froze. He looked down at his son, then at the 6-year-old stranger who had accomplished what luxury, status, and desperation could not. How, he began softly. Toby shrugged. He just needed someone to listen. And in that moment, over the endless blue ocean, inside a cabin wrapped in modern luxury, something shifted. Not just in the baby, but in everyone watching, especially a billionaire who suddenly realized that power had very little to do with comfort, and everything to do with presence. And this was only the beginning. The silence after Zane fell asleep felt sacred. Not the awkward kind. The miracle just happened and nobody wants to breathe too loudly kind. Adewale remained frozen for a full 5 seconds, staring at his son as if he might suddenly restart like faulty Wi-Fi. Zane did not restart. He snored softly, a tiny, victorious baby snore. The entire first-class cabin exhaled at once. One passenger whispered, God bless that small boy. Another muttered, he deserves airline miles for life. Toby gently tried to pull his finger away. Zane tightened his grip. Ah, Toby said thoughtfully, I've been selected. Adewale laughed under his breath. It appears so. He looked down at Toby properly now. Messy hair, bright eyes, light-up sneakers blinking confidently against cream carpet that probably cost more than most people's rent. What did you do? Adewale asked quietly. Toby considered the question seriously. I talked to him like he's a person. Adewale blinked. I mean, Toby added, he is a person. A flight attendant pressed a hand to her chest. She was dangerously close to tears. Young man, she said softly, would you like some juice? Toby nodded. Apple, if it's not the sour one. Sour apple is betrayal. Adewale let out a surprised laugh, loud this time. The sound carried. It had been a while since laughter came easily to him. A few minutes later, Amara appeared at the edge of first class, anxiety written all over her face. I am so sorry, she began quickly. He means well, he just infiltrated first class and solved my crisis, Adewale finished gently. Their eyes met fully for the first time. Time did something strange. It slowed. Amara was not dressed in obvious luxury, but she carried herself with quiet refinement. Her Ankara blouse was deep emerald and gold, the pattern bold yet elegant. Her hair framed her face naturally, No excessive jewelry, no unnecessary noise. Under the warm lighting, she looked like art curated carefully. Adewale stood slightly, still holding his sleeping son. "I'm Adewale," he said. "I know," she replied before she could stop herself. He smiled faintly. "Ah, so my reputation has entered economy?" She lifted an eyebrow. "Sir, your face has entered WhatsApp aunties." He blinked, then burst into laughter. Toby looked between them. "Mom, I think he likes you." Amara gasped softly. "Toby, what?" Toby shrugged. His laugh changed. Adewale pressed his lips together, clearly entertained. "Your son is observant." "Yes," Amara sighed. "It is both a blessing and a daily challenge." Toby turned to Adewale. "Are you really a billionaire?" Adewale nodded cautiously. "I am." Toby tilted his head. "Then why couldn't you buy quiet?" The question landed softly. No disrespect, just curiosity. Adewale smiled slowly. "I suppose some things are not for sale." Toby nodded wisely. "Like peace and good jollof." Amara covered her face. "I promise we cook well," she muttered. "I don't doubt it," Adewale replied smoothly. The tension that had filled the cabin earlier had transformed into warmth, like the cozy atmosphere of a modern Nigerian living room. Rich textures, gold accents, deep colors, intimate lighting. It felt less like first class and more like home. A flight attendant approached. "Mr. Adewale, would you like us to prepare the lounge seat for your guests?" Adewale didn't hesitate. "Yes." Amara blinked. "Oh no, that's not necessary." "It is," he said calmly. "Your son saved my sanity." Promotion. Within minutes, Amara and Toby were seated across from Adewale in a spacious suite-style arrangement. The seat fabric was a soft beige leather, trimmed in dark wood with bronze lining. A small table between them held fresh juice and warm pastries, arranged like they were auditioning for a magazine cover. Toby bounced slightly at his seat. "This chair is hugging me," he announced. "That's the lumbar support," Adewale explained. "I want lumbar at home." Amara shook her head. "You want everything at home." Adewale watched them closely. It had been a long time since he'd seen this kind of ease. No performance, no trying to impress, no measuring words for advantage, just natural warmth. He cleared his throat. "So, Amara, what do you do?" "I design interiors," she replied, "mostly residential. I focus on blending modern luxury with Nigerian cultural elements." His interest sharpened instantly. "Explain." She gestured subtly around the cabin. "See this? The warm gold lighting, the polished wood, the leather. Beautiful, yes. But imagine if it had more soul. Textures that tell stories. Sculptures from Benin. Hand-woven Aso-oke accents. Art that feels inherited, not imported." He listened carefully. "My home," he admitted quietly, "is impressive." "But," she prompted gently, "but it doesn't feel alive." She nodded knowingly. "Many luxury homes don't. They look like catalogs." Toby raised his hand like he was in school. "Yes?" Adewale humored him. "Does your house echo?" "Sometimes. That means it's lonely." The words were simple, but they landed. Adewale looked down at his sleeping son, then back at Amara. "I built it after my wife passed," he said quietly. The warmth shifted slightly, deeper now. Amara's voice softened. "I'm sorry." He nodded once. "Since then, it's been functional." Toby leaned forward confidentially. "My mom says houses need laughing." Adewale's chest tightened unexpectedly. "Well," he said slowly, "perhaps I need a redesign." Amara smiled gently. "Perhaps you do." A small turbulence bump shook the plane lightly. Toby grabbed the armrest. "Is that normal?" "Yes," Adewale reassured him. "Just air pockets." "Air should keep its pockets to itself," Toby declared. Adewale laughed again, full, unguarded. And somewhere between 30,000 feet and Lagos soil, something subtle began forming. Not dramatic, not rushed. Just the quiet possibility of something new. As the pilot announced their descent, golden sunlight poured through the windows, casting everything in warmth. Zane stirred but did not wake. Toby looked satisfied. "See," he said proudly, "we landed and he didn't cry." Adewale studied him thoughtfully. "You know," he said, "I have a feeling this won't be the last time we meet." Toby grinned. "Good, because your house needs help." Amara shook her head, but she was smiling too. And for the first time in a long while, Adewale felt something unfamiliar stirring in his carefully structured world. Not bought, not negotiated, just discovered. And this time, it came from economy. The plane touched down in Lagos just as the sky turned molten gold. Applause broke out softly in economy. In first class, passengers checked their phones. Notifications flooded in. Markets, meetings, messages. But Adewale didn't reach for his. He was watching Toby attempt to explain turbulence to Zane, who had just woken up and was blinking at the world like it owed him answers. "It's like when you run too fast and trip," Toby was saying seriously. "But the sky trips." Zane stared at him, then smiled. Adewale felt something shift in his chest. By the time they exited the plane, the humid Lagos air wrapped around them like a familiar embrace. The airport buzzed with energy, porters moving swiftly, voices overlapping, the faint smell of perfume and fuel mixing together. Outside, a convoy of sleek black SUVs waited. Toby froze. "Mom," he whispered loudly, "is that for him?" "Yes," she whispered back. "Is he a president?" Adewale, overhearing, chuckled. "Not yet." Toby nodded. "Okay, if you become president, don't ban cartoons. I'll keep that in mind." One of Adewale's drivers stepped forward. "Good evening, sir." "Good evening," Adewale replied, then hesitated. "Actually, we'll need another vehicle." The driver blinked. "For our guests." Amara immediately shook her head. "Oh no, please, we can take a taxi." "Taxis are fine," Toby added. "They smell like adventure." Adewale smiled. "And sometimes like fear." Toby gasped. "Exactly." Amara tried not to laugh, but Adewale was already gesturing toward the second SUV. "It would be my honor to drop you home." She studied him for a moment. There was no arrogance in his tone, just sincerity. "All right," she agreed softly. The drive through Lagos at dusk felt cinematic. Streetlights flickered on one by one. Hawkers weaved between cars. Music drifted from roadside speakers. The city pulsed, alive, imperfect, beautiful. Toby pressed his face lightly to the tinted window. "Your car is quiet," he observed. "Yes. Our neighbor's car coughs before it starts." Adewale nodded thoughtfully. "Cars, like people, need maintenance." Toby turned. "Are you maintained?" Amara nearly choked. Adewale burst into laughter. "I try to be." "You should drink water," Toby advised. "Mom says dehydration causes bad decisions." Amara sighed. "I have created a motivational speaker." "And I like him," Adewale replied smoothly. She glanced at him. There it was again, that spark, not loud, but steady. They arrived first at Amara and Toby's home, a modest but tastefully kept apartment building in a quiet estate. Before stepping out, Toby turned serious. "Are we going to see your Echo House?" Adewale paused. "Would you like to?" Toby looked at his mother for permission. Amara hesitated only briefly. "Just for a short visit," she said. Toby raised both fists. "Yes." 30 minutes later, the gates of Adewale's mansion slid open silently. It was breathtaking. Modern architecture with clean lines, tall glass panels reflecting the night sky, perfect landscaping, a fountain sculpted from dark stone. Lights illuminated the exterior like a luxury hotel. Toby's mouth fell open. "Is this a museum?" Adewale smiled faintly. "It's home." They stepped inside. The foyer was enormous. Marble floors gleamed. A grand chandelier cascaded from the ceiling like frozen light. Art pieces lined the walls, expensive, abstract, carefully chosen, and yet it felt still. Too still. Toby took 3 steps forward. His sneakers blinked. The light echoed faintly off the marble. "Hello," Toby called experimentally. His voice bounced back. "Hello, hello, hello." He turned slowly. "See?" Adewale swallowed. Amara walked further inside, her trained designer's eye observing everything. The symmetry, the expensive minimalism, the absence of warmth. "It's beautiful," she admitted. "But," Adewale prompted, "but it feels like you're afraid to disturb it." He looked around. She was right. The sofas were pristine, the throw pillows untouched, the dining table arranged like a magazine shoot, waiting for approval. "It hasn't been rearranged in years," he confessed quietly. Since my wife." Silence fell, heavier this time. Zane squirmed in his arms, sensing something. Toby walked toward a large sculptural coffee table. "Can I sit?" Adewale hesitated, then nodded. Toby climbed onto the plush cream sofa, bouncing lightly. "It's comfy," he declared, "but it looks nervous." Amara covered her smile. "Nervous?" Adewale asked. "Yes, like it's trying not to make mistakes." The words landed deeper than intended. Amara walked toward the wall art. "You've chosen pieces that are powerful," she said gently, "but they don't tell your story." Adewale's voice lowered. "I didn't want reminders." "And so you removed feeling," she replied softly. He met her eyes. "And what would you add?" She looked around thoughtfully. "Texture, color, laughter, layers, maybe Asaoke throw pillows, a reading corner with warm lighting, family photos, sculptures that reflect heritage." Toby jumped in. "And a toy box." Zane made a small, happy sound, as if agreeing. Adewale looked down at his son, then around the vast, echoing space. "Do you think," he asked quietly, "you could make it feel alive?" Amara stepped closer. "I don't just design rooms," she said gently. "I restore atmosphere." Their eyes held. The air shifted again, this time warmer, more intentional. Toby clapped his hands once. "Good, because this house needs laughing." Adewale smiled slowly. For the first time since stepping inside, the mansion didn't feel intimidating. It felt possible. He extended his hand toward Amara. "Then let's bring it back to life." She looked at his hand, then shook it, and somewhere between polished marble floors and blinking sneakers, a new chapter quietly began, not just for the house, but for all of them. The mansion felt alive, but something else stirred in the air, something deeper than laughter or luxury. As Toby and Zane explored every corner, Amara and Adewale lingered in the grand living room, their conversations drifting from design plans to shared memories, to subtle glances that lingered too long. Sparks flickered where walls once only echoed, and a quiet tension hummed between them, heavier than any chandelier above. Will this shared journey of restoration awaken more than just the house? Will two hearts find the courage to let walls fall and intimacy bloom? One thing is certain. The next part of the story promises laughter, surprises, and a connection neither of them saw coming. If you're excited to see romance spark above the clouds and inside the mansion, hit like, subscribe, and join us for the next heartwarming, unexpected, and oh-so-sparkling part.